Dear friends and members of the KITION Planetarium Observatory, thank you for joining us tonight on another Science Cafe, as we do every last Tuesday of every month. Thank you for being with us tonight, all those that have joined us online on the Zoom meeting, and all those that we are going to be watching it on our YouTube channel later on. We wish you season's greetings since we are in the last week of November, and from Sunday we're going to be entering December, a festive season with lots of events and a lot of very, very interesting projects. Tonight with us, we have a very, very special guest, actually a guest that I know from my childhood, from the school, a beloved friend, an honorable it's a very great honor for us to be with us today. She's excellent in what she's doing. I've been following her a lot, actually every day. She's keeping company to me through her podcast, through the social media, and we kept this friendship all this time. So we're talking about Our Lady, Emilia Nicolaidou. She holds a Bachelor of Science in honors, of course, on Optometry and Visual Science. She's got an MSc in psychology. She's got a diploma in modern applied psychology. She's an internationally accredited life coach, and she's an optics clinical advisor, personal development mentor, and of course, she's the director and founder of Optimizing Options and Emilais.me. Now, Emilais, I guess from Emilia.
Emilia is.
Yes, Emilia is .me, .you. Okay, and Emilia is going to be talking to us about all that we have mentioned earlier in our advertising, which is going to talk about the behavioral science and its revelation in helping humans comprehend a real way of living. And she will help us to review tools and ways for personal growth in all aspects of life. And of course, this is very important that if you grow self-respect and initiative and all this, if you actually comprehend the real way of living, you can improve a lot in your everyday life. And you can, I'm sure every human can achieve a lot, achieve his or her target. And of course, she's going to show us the way how to do it. And before we give the stage to Emilia, we will talk about, it take a few minutes in talking about our events for this month. We have created a page. You can have access from our homepage, astronomycyprus.eu, or even you type cyprusplanetarium.com or cyprusobservatory.com, you will be directed to the astronomycyprus.eu, and you will have there a button, the same like the previous one, the Santa Claus, which will take you to this page that all the events that we are going to hold at our premises will be announced here by the end of the week, by Sunday. And so all those events are going to be held in 3 different languages, either in English or Russian or Greek. We're going to have events for the general public, for families, some children's workshops. So don't forget to keep an eye on this page, astronomycyprus.eu. Press the link on the Christmas program, Christmas seasons program, and you will be prompted to this page. Also, at the very bottom, you will find another link to the giddichristmasvillage.com website, which it's actually the Christmas celebrations have taken place in our Christmas village, the village of angels, as it is called. The theme is angels because of the Angeloptis Church, one of the very the earliest, one of the three earliest churches in Cyprus, protected by UNESCO Heritage Program, and because of the name of Angeloktistos, which means in Greek built by angels, they gave this theme to the Christmas village, which is called the um, uh, um, the, the village of angels. Now, this already started. The first day actually it was inaugurated on the 23rd of November, and it's going to last until the 6th of January 2025. Now, every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're going to have events, and from the middle of December, we're going to have events every day until the 6th of January at the Kitty Christmas Village. We will be participating by doing 3 STEAM workshops there, free for the people. Everything is going to be free. The first one is going to be held on December the 7th, 3 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We're going to talk about the castles of Cyprus, even for those that they are in the occupied areas. And we are also going to be talking about what was special in those castles, who built the castles, but also how important they are in the research for the biodiversity of Cyprus. Because as you know, many of the castles used sedimentary rock to create the bricks for the walls of the castles. And of course, these sediments include fossils. And fossils can tell the story of the earth. Anywhere you find a fossil, you can find about what happened earlier. But also you can find some species that in these castles and some other not animals, I mean insects that they live inside the walls of the castles, and they are very important for the biodiversity of Cyprus. So it's going to be a very interesting workshop. December the 15th, 6 to 7 o'clock in the afternoon, the Christmas full moon. We're going to do a presentation, another interactive presentation related to the full moon and the space missions to the moon, moon exploration. And then we're going to have our telescope available for the public to do what we call hands-on activity for outreach, and they're going to observe the full moon. 26th of December, we're going to have a very nice story. It's going to be storytelling about Santa Claus travels to the moon from 12 o'clock until 1 o'clock noon. So I don't know if I'm going to be dressed as Santa, but the story will include Santa and 2 of his friends traveling to the moon and discussing exploration of the moon, exploration of space, the first people, the first man in space, Yuri Gagarin, the first people who stepped on the moon, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. We're going to talk about the biodiversity of Cyprus, how to protect the salt lakes here, because they are related to the biodiversity again, migrating birds, and also about light pollution, how it affects us, and so on. So all this trip to the moon will include a lot of things, and spacewalk, of course, because it's our motto, join our spacewalk. So join us. So these 3 events are for free for the general public. 7th, 15th, and 26th of December there is going to be a place at the square where we're going to meet. So look for us at Kitty Square those days. We would like to announce that the NASA Asteroid Research Campaign we are participating in started on the 22nd of November. We have already collected the first images, and we are reprogramming the software to be able to have accurate measurements. And on Friday, we are starting. If anyone is interested in joining our team, we still have 1 place available. And the next one is going to be from January 23rd until February the 17th. And during our last campaign, we have discovered 6 new asteroids. Great team: George Troullias, Andrew Constantinos, Stavroula Vasiliou, Hassel Balcioglu, and Ahmed Balcioglu. Thank you for all your time spending coming to this side and doing this with us. Good cooperation, excellent friendship. And on the 5th of December, we have the Read the Sky course for beginners. We will start on that Thursday, 5th. And the lesson lasts for 1.5 hours, 6:30 to 8, 4 consecutive Thursdays, and at the end of the sessions, at the end of the program, you will receive a certificate, and then you can carry on to the next one. The sky is alive. KITION Astronomy Academy, we still accept participations. It was already started in October. It will end in June. We already started the lessons, but because the lessons are autonomous, they finish, and every subject is finished at every lesson, so anyone can join at any time. I would also like to mention again our new cooperations and express my gratitude for accepting our Astronomy Academy curriculum, the American Academy Larnaca, that we teach there every Wednesday afternoon, the Astronomy Academy curriculum, and the IMS private school in Limassol. Thank you to all of you. And also, I would like to thank our social media and media partners, our friend Yannis Dianellos, Podcom, and also Classic 99 FM, and our friend Svetlana, who is owner of Ruski Krai magazine and newspaper. Thank you very much to all. And now it's the time for our special guest to share his screen. Our dear Emilia, the stage is yours. And nice smile, it will. And I'm sure.
Have I shared it already?
Okay. And I want to say to the public that when we were doing the trials yesterday, I saw this beautiful painting behind you, but I will not reveal.
We will discuss about this at the end because it will make a lot of sense to everything we say today.
The stage is yours. Thank you for
please, George, please remind me to explain what this is all about.
I will, because it was my question. It was related to all my questions yesterday.
Thank you, first of all, for the invitation. And let me welcome all to this, hopefully to be an eye-opening session, meeting, which I hope it will be interactive in the end. I want to say why I love science, and until I drop dead, I will be studying it, because it is the only part of life which is continuously experimenting and based on facts, reports findings. And it reports findings on whether things are working out or whether things are not working out. And if there is anything that is constant in life, this is change. And with change, we tend to find people adapting to it, and we tend finding people being scared of it. There is nothing else in this life than believing, and this is my honest belief, and I strongly believe this until I die, that the only thing that a person is capable to overcome, it begins from the way they think. So the mindset is very important for the navigation through life. And behavioral science, which is a collection of findings which combines psychology, combines sociology, combines anthropology, combines economics, helps us to understand how individuals and groups make decisions. Because in every day, in every routine we have, and in all aspects of our lives, we make decisions, whether we understand the decisions we make or not, whether we do them unconsciously or not. And the outcomes of our lives are based on the way we see the world and the way we view ourselves within the world. So behavioral science, which is a combination of all of this science, brings out the findings on how we behave and the way we behave, why we have the outcomes of our lives as such, and is it possible to change if we want to or if we are pushed to. And in this world in which we are being bombarded with information coming from many sources and from everywhere, it is very difficult to differentiate what is truth, what is real based on facts, and what it is being sold or marketed or presented as normal, as the reality. And it all comes down to us. And at some point in our lives, it would be a good idea to observe what is really truthful, what is really the reality based on facts or based on what is happening, and what it is an idea. Because a lot of things are ideas and opinions coming from mindsets of groups of people or individuals, and very few things are real in life. And this is what we are going to discover today. And I hope at the end this makes sense to you. And if it doesn't, please be free to ask in order to have a little different point of view of things, hopefully, as from now on. I don't want you to take my word for it, but I want you to be the observant of your life. Now, nothing in this world makes sense other than human behavior. And the reason is that we are all being interacting with one another, and we either make one another or we break one another due to our behavior. We see people being depressed. We hear a lot about toxicity. We hear a lot about narcissistic behavior. We hear a lot about ADHD and lots of other conditions. And what I want you to start doing, if you want to, that is before you believe you have a condition, before you believe you're not able to do something, before you believe you've got an identity, please find the facts that prove this to you. Or we could discuss and find ways how to go back to the starting point in order to help you see things through a different point of view and maybe improve a situation in your life that you might find it difficult to change, or maybe you're struggling with. The aim of this session is not to frighten you, and it's not to make you believe what I say, but if we look at things in a little bit reversed, and if we dig deeper into the reasons why things are happening in the way they're happening, and why do some other people succeed in areas of their life that we might not, and why do we see people being miserable or sad, and why do we see people being happy and glad? It all comes down to the way we view the world, and especially the way we have built our personality and we have structured our mindset in order to see ourselves through there. So the first slogan for today is nothing in this world makes sense other than human behavior. And if we understand human behavior, how we behave in certain areas of our lives or with certain people, and how other people behave towards us, then we might find solutions to difficult conversations, to difficult things that we want to overcome and we cannot. And we find ourselves struggling within partnerships, at workplaces. We don't know how to deal with conflict. We want to be listened, we want to be heard, we want to be loved, we need to be needed. And all this is a physical need from a human being, but how do we get it is a different thing. And how we respond to situations in life, how we respond to hard things in life, because again, if there is one thing that is truth, is that life is not a happy, bubbly world, and it is full of ups and downs. And since we cannot control either the weather or the way other people behave or the way other people think about us or the way other people treat us, the only thing we can control is the way we react to all these challenges, let's say, that life brings us, or maybe our past decisions have brought us into today. So 70% of the time we make decisions throughout our life unconsciously. And this is because we have learned, we have built in this mentality of ours social copying, because what we see around us, what kind of lifestyles we experience and we see out in the world, we believe that this is the reality, and we believe that this is good for us to follow, and we believe that this is the normal. And I want to repeat what I said before. Very little things in life are truth or are real based on facts, and everything else is an idea or an opinion. And these opinions and ideas we have been copying forever as a human species, because we think that there is one fit for all, and this is what we call normality. But is there? We find ourselves usually after the age of 40, 45, thinking, do I belong here? We have careers, we have partnerships, we live in environments, we experience family issues. And I am sure that everybody is going through this process of trying to figure out whether this is for them, whether this is where they belong to, or if there is any other way to deal, again, with a difficult conversation, with a difficult situation at workplaces where we have conflicts and we don't know how to speak, we don't know how to listen to one another. We all have needs. But the main thing we do, because what we see while we are growing in our family, in the environment of school, in the environment of the university, then at the workplaces, then within our new families, we tend to believe that what other people do is the reality, and this is the normal. So this is called social copying, which is what our brains through our visual system perceive as reality, is what we are being repeatedly seeing throughout the world and outside our self. And the journey to find our real personality is the search for finding the truth actually makes us. So I would urge you and ask you, if you want to, that is to start observing before believing and start questioning before believing. Because when we say, I believe, there is no room for doubt, and there is no room for change, and there is no room for question. And this is why I love science, because it is repeatedly checking things. And in the same way, if we do this for ourselves, for our lives, for our partnerships, for our behavior, then we will find the missing pieces to change and shift a mindset in order to improve a behavior, in order to make better understanding of the situation and solve it and fix it and move on to the next one. We usually do social copying because we think that this is the reality without thinking. Is this for me as well? Does this fit me, my mentality, my needs, my wants? We usually do things that we think we should do. We're being brought up in families. And I don't know if we choose a career or a course to study. Is it our decision or was it given to us? Do we choose it because we really want to go for that course, let's say, as an example, or is it just because I was listening to my dad telling me it's a good idea if you become a doctor? It's a good idea if you become a lawyer. We tend to listen throughout our lives, opinions of others and what they believe we should do. And we continue in this world doing things without noticing whether this is a decision of ours, that it is truly ours, that make our personality more authentic, or is it a decision that I have been not even thinking about, but I believe this is the right thing to do? Because our brain continuously makes the ideal. It creates fantasies, it creates visualizations of what could be. And when we are in any situation to make a decision or even at crossroads, we tend to do what we believe we should do, which most of the times is not what we think is the best thing for us to do. And we tend to do what other people expect us to do. And sometimes, a lot of times, we make decisions based on fear. And as an example, I will say there is a new opportunity for a job. There is a job opening in a different company that I would like to be there. And before I sent my CV, I said, but what if they choose me? What's next? Will I be able to deliver there? And the fear, and especially the fear of what others will say, how will I deal with the resignation on this position to go for that? We build in our mindset all these scenarios which are hypothetically about the future we will have no access to, we don't know, and then we stop ourselves from daring to do something different. And tonight we are going to discuss ways to how to get from a stuck situation to move on to changing the mindset, to push ourselves to go for that new beginning. So 70% of the time, we make decisions unconsciously based on what we think is the reality, based on what we think other people expect us to. We put all these labels, we put all these conditions. I am too shy to talk. I am too depressed to even try. I can't. We put all these conditions and labels in our minds. We believe that is the reality. And then we find ourselves stuck. So when we are in chaos as humans, due to the fact that we perceive the lifestyle that we see from others as being the reality, we tend to do what other people do. And we tend to go back to what we know, regardless if that situation is bad for us or not. And in doubt or in chaos, again, we find ourselves repeating the same mistakes or the same wrong decisions or the same mentality and the same behaviors, expecting different outcomes. But we cannot solve a problem or a struggle or overcome something or go for something different with the same mindset that has created the outcomes of today. And you don't need courage and you don't need self-esteem if you really, truly know what you want. And this is the journey of self-realizations and self-truth. And you might never get there, but the potential is there. And yes, it takes a lot of work, a lot of discipline to start thinking in a different way in order to detach from the past reality and create the new. And if we do not expose ourselves to different experiences, we will never change, we will never see something different, and we will never put ourselves in front of doubting what we have been believing strongly until today for the world, for the people around us, for ourselves as individuals. So, starting to see things in a different way means that we talk in a different way as well. And people around us, and this is what's stopping people from changing, take us for fools. Are you crazy wanting to stop the security of this job and move to a different one? We can talk about your examples in the end, but I'm giving this as a rough example. Yes, you have to be a fool, F-O-O-L. You have to be free from what you know already in order to put yourself with both feet on the ground to experience something different and give yourself the chance to learn, to see, to progress, and to develop. People will call you crazy, yes. Innovation, technology, you all know all these beautiful words. Take crazy people who believe that they could change the world, that they could change something, they could dare and do something different. They name themselves crazy because other people call them as such. We do not like other people being different than us because we want everyone to be in the same boat. It feels good if other people suffer. It feels much comforting for us if other people have miserable lives as us. And I am not saying that everybody has miserable lives. It's the way you look at them, because life is not, again, it's not a happy, bubbly place to be. Life is a journey of overcoming obstacles. And I strongly and only believe that humans have the capability to navigate through all of these obstacles, having the right mindset, having the openness to challenge themselves and put themselves to yes to being crazy and being fools, to check their potentials. People will tell them, have you lost your mind? Yes. If you want to experience something different, if you want to become someone different, if you want to succeed in something, yes, you have to lose your mind. And that means you have to rewire what you know about yourself and what you know about your environment and what you know about what you have been suppressing and what you know about the world in general, to start opening to a different experience, to gain different education, why not? Different mentality by relocation, yes, why not? I hear a lot of people asking me, but I want to leave this country and I want to move to another country and I want to start all over. Of course you should. But how am I going to do this? People don't change. Of course they do. But people only change if they really believe that they are able to and they see themselves there, and that requires distraction of their current life and steadily and slowly moving, navigating towards the new. and they can change if they do not have any other option to do so. This is the reason why we see people doing the same things, repeating the same things, following the same things, numbing their lives because they cannot escape and break free from what they are tolerating, from what they are repeating every day. And I have had enough with this. And this is the reason why I am a little bit harsh on how to show to my clients their new life there by detaching from the current and especially the old. It is not an easy journey, but while you're going towards the new, you become a different person and you are able to overcome and you are able to deal with everything that life hits you or that a mistake or a wrongdoing brings as a consequence, as a negative consequence in your life, and everything is possible. Now, it requires to have a critical thinking, and this means we cannot believe everything we see as being the reality. We cannot believe everything we think as being the reality, and we cannot trust our feelings all the time. Because if we make our decisions based on how a situation makes us feel, when the feeling goes away, we find ourselves in big trouble. And we find ourselves dealing with decisions and life paths that we may regret. And having a critical thinking mindset means that we're so disciplined and we're self-regulating the feelings, and we allow ourselves the time to think before we act, to evaluate before we make decisions, and to take the time before we digest everything that's given to us. And I'm not going to give you my opinion, but I want you to have your own opinion. Do you think that everything you're being given as reality, as normal, as accepting the new reality, as some people say, is it for real? Is it truthful? Is it indeed the reality? Do we have any facts to prove? This is the beginning of starting to reevaluate the current phase that we are in, the past life that we lived, and maybe put the new direction for the new path that we might want to open to. Having a critical thinking, self-regulating our feelings, our desires, and our wants and our needs requires from us to be alert, and we need to be focused all the time. And by scrolling down on the internet and by drinking just to have a day to relax, or by chit-chatting or nagging about things, we don't create critical thinking mindset. We just go with the flow and we agree to everything. Now we need to stand our ground and open our eyes and observe as scientists the outcomes of our lives, the decisions we have made, the people we allow ourselves to be surrounded with, at workplaces, within friendships, even within our families. We love our families, is the root of our being, but it doesn't mean that we have to grow older agreeing with everyone's opinions. At some point in our life, we have to have our own opinion, and we have to make decisions based on what feels right, but it is right for us. And usually what is right for us to do is the toughest thing to do. And it takes a lot of discipline to follow. Now, yes, there is always a reason why things work out and why things don't work out. And this is due to the behavior and the actions we take. Now, the actions we take unconsciously most of the times are due to the thinking process, which sometimes is based on the feelings that a situation creates, which is totally out of order and is totally out of reality. So we learn to process before we allow the feeling to make us take action. And especially an example of such would be, I have a quarrel, let's say, with my partner, and all the time we argue and we shout. We shout to one another. We are angry with one another because we want things out of one another that the other person hasn't understood that we want them, or maybe the other person demands things from us. And in order to be heard, in order to be listened to, we just shout. If this works out for you and your partnership, go ahead and do it. But if you enter the home, if you go home and you think that, oh my God, tonight it's going to be a big night, we're going to fight about this, and you enter the home in silence, and instead of shouting at your partner, you just tell him, you know what, I'm ready to listen to you. Do something different and out of the ordinary brings a different outcome, because your person, yes, will think you crazy. What's wrong with you? You're not going to shout at me. If you enter that quarrel in a different way that you've done before, trust me, 100% is going to have a different outcome. So start to think, if things don't work out, there is definitely a reason within the behavior and the actions we took before. And if we want it to change, we have to reverse the behavior. So we have to start thinking in reverse sometimes if things are not working out for us. And there is always a proof. Why do other people succeed in something, and why do some other people never succeed in something? It's the way we think about life that brings. If I am a negative person and I am nagging all the time, and for all my bad things, all the bad things that happened in my life, I blame others, I will find evidence for this, because what I am looking for is what I find. So if I nag, definitely I will find other people who nag as well, and we can all nag together, and we can all feel that the world is so bad. But is it only, is this the only reality we have? Everything is bad, economy is bad, governments are bad. Is this the only reality we have? We haven't seen people smiling every day. Haven't we don't we see people willing to help? Don't we see people struggling with difficult issues, with losses, with painful situations, that are ready to listen, that they have the patience to even help others? So it's all in the behavior. And the behavior doesn't come on its own. It is a collection of experiences of the past, from childhood to adulthood. And all of these experiences we have with the people that we were being surrounded have created this identity that we have. Some people view things and struggles in a positive way, and they make the best out of it. That is the reason why I said we either break one another or we make one another. We have bullies at school now. It's very fashionable. And we have bullies at school. And we have two types of people, two types of personalities. There are all these people who, while they're being bullied, keep silent, and they do the work, and they succeed in their class, they succeed in the universities. They pay attention only to put all this anger they have, all this sadness they feel, into creating something, and they become something. And then we have those people who engage with the bullying that they go, and they make themselves miserable just because they think that they don't deserve love. But what is all this bringing out? it brings behaviors in the adulthood life. So if I have been bullied and I experienced this as a very negative thing, I can either become an adult who I'm going to be the bully, or I can become the adult who I'm going to be supporting and going against the bullies. So we all together interact with one another, and according to what we experienced in the past and how we saw the world in the environments we were growing up, this is how we behave. And at some point, if we have negative outcomes, the first thing we need to go back to is to see why. What is it in me? What is it in my behavior that I do that I continuously bring all these negative outcomes in my life? And I'm talking about negativity because when we are happy, when you're having things going the way we wanted, nobody discusses about that. We all nag, we're all feeling miserable, and we all have everything to say negatively for everything if things are not going the way we want them to. So the process of thinking while we're feeling that ends up to acting, it's all correlated. And at some point, it would be a good idea to observe it before we indulge into it, before we repeat it. Remind me to explain why people, when they're really, really in deep desperation of giving up smoking, let's say, why there are some people who manage to do so, and why we have a lot of people who start in the process and halfway they give up. I'm going to discuss about this in the end if this is something that you would like to find out why. So let's move on to explain the thinking process, and the feeling process that derives to the actions is based on how we see the world. Now, the visual system, the eyeballs, is the beginning of our visualization. What we see through the eyeball that is connected with the brain is perceived as the reality. So what we see, the first thing we see, the first thing we interact with, we get it as being the reality because we do not give ourselves the time to experience it. What we see an attractive man, we see an attractive woman, and immediately our brain makes assumptions, visualizations, things. We make assumptions about someone from the moment we see them. And of course, yes, the attraction is based on what we see, but the deeper connection, and this happens in all aspects of our lives, the deeper connection either works for a long period of time if we allow the experience to show us, or it lasts for a short period of time because, again, the experience comes as a signal, comes as a evaluation throughout the experience with this person to say, this is a suitable person for me to have as a friend, as a partner, as a colleague, or whatever, or this is not. So the first two things we see and we perceive as the reality is always what we think it is the reality. But through the experience, we develop thoughts, we develop ideas, we make assumptions, and all this clutter in the mind confuses the process of getting to know, let's say, one another. And this, I'm talking about people now, connections. And along the way, when we grow together, let's say we found a partner, an attractive partner, the attraction is there, it was mutual, we get into a relationship, we turn to learn from one another, we fantasize before we get into the intimacy, then we get into the intimacy, and then reality hits. I don't like the way you behave. I don't like the way you treat me. I don't like, we enter relationships because we both want things out of one another. And while we are experimenting and we are getting to know one another, we see the reality. We see the true colors of one another. And that's the challenging bit, to remind ourselves, what was the first attraction? What was the first thing I saw in you? And through the experience, and this should be okay because we do not grow together. We haven't had the same mindset while we were growing. We weren't seeing the same things in the world while we were growing apart. Now we are in this together, and let's see how we can navigate through these different perceptions and make it together. And if we do not grow together, we tend to grow apart. And that's another challenging situation that is happening within partnerships, friendships, and co-workers even. We think we know people. We think we make assumptions because the first thing we see, we become attracted to, and we believe that this is it. It takes time, experience, and this is, again, I'm going back to the science. Rational, critical thinking, observation before we indulge and before we make promises to one another. That's one aspect of life, partnerships, connections. If you have any deeper or more questions you would like to go through and understand why things work out or not within partnerships, let's discuss it further. So awareness is the key. And what does that mean? That means that I am always alert. I am always focused in whatever it is that I am doing. Whether I am at home, I pay attention to what I eat. I pay attention to what I see. I pay attention to what I listen to. I pay attention to what I allow my mind to get driven by. And we find that we lose a lot of time scrolling. We lose our focus. We get confused. We're not where we should be. And all this is happening unconsciously. So awareness is the key, to understand where I am, to understand what's going on, and to think before I act. So we tend to do repeatedly everything because this is the reality, this is the routine. I go to work, I come back, I feel exhausted. And then I realize that there are things that I would like to have in my life, that I would like to do in my life, but I don't do it because I'm too lazy. I don't have the time. I cannot manage it. Everything we can manage, everything we can do. We just need to get into the plan, to get into the active mode of trying without seeing the outcome coming. That is how we become. That is how we grow. That is how we develop, by having critical thinking and self-regulating of the feelings that every situation brings, and thinking, is this good for me? Is this bad for me? Do I have a proof that is good for me? Do I have a proof that is bad for me? Feelings are signals. We see people that we don't get along with, and we say, oh my God, I'm not going to talk to them because they said this and this prior to, I don't know, at some point. I see someone and I dislike them. I see someone, it creates a feeling. Is this for real though? Because sometimes we judge people according to what others say about them, according to how they make me feel, but we don't give each other the chance to get to understand one another. There is always a reason why we see moody people around. There is always a reason why we see people nagging, why we see people being resentful, being mean, being, I don't know, angry. If we approach them with the same, then there is a big conflict. If we just pay attention to, maybe there is a reason why they're like this, and we talk to them in a different way, trust in me, you might get a different reaction from them too. So it all comes again down to us. How I think, how I behave, how I feel. Is this for real? Should I try something different? Does it bring a better outcome in my life if I continue arguing with this person, if I continue being in the same mindset as before? Or is it in my benefit to do something different, to try something different? Just try. And if you have specific issues, we will find ways as to how you can even start from today, questioning, dealing, trying to have a feedback at least to see if it's working or if it's not. So emotional awareness and self-regulation is the beginning of change. And again, before we expect others to change in order to suit our desires, in order to suit our wants and needs, the first person who needs to change is us. So if we want better relationships, healthier connections, better appreciation from work, appreciation from others, we have to think, what do we actually give? And if we have done everything in our power to show the best in us, then maybe it's time to think and change direction and to even ask ourselves, so why do I still tolerate this? Why haven't I moved on yet? So the most difficult part in change is to detach from what we know, and is to detach from what feels so uncomfortable to do so. And the most difficult thing is with people, especially because we don't know how they can handle it. We don't know how to say, we don't know how to leave a situation. We don't know how to explain. Sometimes we don't even have to explain. And it's not that you give up on people. It's because you gave the chance enough or too many times and the message doesn't go to them. We do not have all the same capacity of understanding. We are not all in the same position to feel one another. We just try. And we try our best with respect first towards ourselves and respect to the other person as well. And if we see that this is getting us nowhere, the best thing to do is to think, why do I still tolerate? Is there anything I am doing that I haven't got the message through? And before we expect others to change for us or love us by loving them more, by giving them more, by being there all the time, why don't we turn around and give all this attention and all this need and all this care to us? And maybe through that procedure, we understand the reasons why we are giving, expecting, and repeating, waiting with no response to what we really deserve. That's another big issue within connections. So an identity cannot be changed without going through the emotional turmoil and critical thinking discipline. Let's say I want to stop smoking, and there are more important issues than this, but I'm going to use this just, and if you can correlate it with your story, good. If not, feel free to discuss later. Let's say I want to stop smoking, and smoking, I have been smoking for the past, let's say 25 years, and I have been smoking unconsciously, and then consciously when I am having my tea, I'm having my coffee, I'm having my break. Why do I smoke all the time? I know that this is bad for me, and even my doctor has said that it's good and I need to stop it because my lungs are full. I'm not scared enough. I don't have cancer, let's say. Now, this is a hypothetical story, all right? But I want to show you the intents of it. I don't have cancer yet, But if I had, the fear of cancer that I'm going to die would immediately make me stop. So this is one of the reasons why people change through fear. They change because they know that their time is limited and they're so freaking scared that they immediately quit it. If I don't have lung cancer, but yes, I have difficulties with my health, let's say, and it's not that serious, but I really need to cut it, I will cut it for a little, for a week, and then I will be dependent on it, and I will be searching for it, and I will be angry. But if you really know that smoking is harmful and we should stop it, and I believe that this is my last chance, I need to stop it, then all this emotional turmoil that the detachment from the attachment brings me, and this goes as well for people, right? If I want to leave someone, if I have to leave someone, if I really want to break free from someone, a friendship, even a lover or anything, the detachment, in order to make me feel free until I get to the freedom part, I will go through pain, whether the decision to break up with this person was coming from me or from them. The turmoil, the emotional turmoil will be that tough as it was the first emotional intensity at the beginning of it. So going through the routine, the life, the attaching to people, attaching to substances, attaching to mentalities, attaching to identities, if I really decide that this is no longer working for me and I need to go to the next step, the first period is painful regardless, and we don't see the outcome either, and that is the reason why we break for some reason and then we go back. This is what attachment and dependent is all about. But if we really are serious about what we're doing, if we're really alert and aware of the reasons why it's important for the detachment, then we go through the pain of detachment with grace, because we know that we're going to go there. We cannot go there by being here. We cannot go there by coming back and going forward. We cannot go round and round in circles. We have to be disciplined to change the mindset that has created this attachment, this condition, this identity, this belief, and move towards creating a different one, a different personality, which means that, yes, people will not like it. Other people who depend on us or who was easy when we were around will not like it. And then I will have to also deal with the nagging, the shouting, the ignorance, or all of these bad things that I'm going to be hearing while I'm changing. And that is why people always go back to where they started and they don't continue, and very few continue with the change, with the new mindset, with the new experiences, exposing themselves to the new environment so that they can slowly and steadily detach from the past. And that is the reason why we have people who succeed with change and people who always go back to what they were. And it all depends on what we really want and how serious we are with our lives. So what we believe, it becomes our reality, because what we see, as we said before, we perceive it as being the truth without even questioning. And our mind is always searching for proof on what we believe, especially with the negative beliefs. And again, I'm going to bring the example of the world is so bad these days. If I look around, if I open the news, if I get onto the TikTok, I see proof that yes, the world is so bad these days. But is this true? Is this the only reality we have? What we tend to see, what we tend to be engaging with, what we allow to be interacting with, this is what we accept as our reality. This is what we accept as us. So our surroundings create our beliefs due to social copying, due to the fear that we don't want to be the outcasts. Usually the outcasts are being bullied. Usually the different ones from the group, from the gang, are the bad ones. They are the crazy ones. Let them be. And the bullying is too much these days because a lot of people are trying to think. Well, a lot of people are numb. A lot of people are not being able to differentiate what is truthful and what is false, what is presented, what is being sold, than what it is actually based on facts, the reality. And we have confusion in all ages and in life in general. And it takes a lot of guts to be different. It takes a lot of guts to say no. It takes a lot of guts to be rational. It suits to be irrational. It suits to be following. It suits to be followers. So if there is anything that I want you to take out from tonight's session, meeting, you name it, is before you believe that something is true, at least question it. Don't blindfold, just question it and see it for yourself through the outcomes by testing it. I want to talk about a social experiment just to show you how the environment influences a good person to become a bad person, or a person who was strong to create conditions as depression and wanting to suicide, if the environment and if the environment they are put into is so stressful that we develop the conditions we are talking about. Now, back in the 70s, there was a very famous social experiment, the Stanford prison experiment by Dr. Philip Zimbardo. Now, it was intended to last 15 days, but it ended on the 6th day. I'm going to say why. They created a prism, or the environment as a prism, in the Department of Psychology in Stanford University. And they had volunteers to become the prisoners and volunteers to become the guards. Now, they really screened these people. They were normal. There were people who had passed some tests in order to be able to differentiate the role they were going to play than the reality. And within the first 6 days, the experiment had to stop because the guards became over and above dependent into the role that started to exert violence to the prisoners. Immediately, the environment they were in, it was so real, was so realistic, it made them think as if they had the authority to become violent towards the prisoners. And a lot of prisoners, who, by the way, were actors volunteering for this experiment, created stress, panic attacks, depression, and people wanting to suicide. So only within 6 days, if the circumstances are not optimum or healthy, we can either become violent, we can develop conditions that we do not realize we have because of the environment, because of the stress we're going through, because of the sudden changes. And it requires a lot of critical thinking, again, to differentiate the reality from the experiment, the reality from the opinion, the reality from the idea. And I want to repeat that. Very few things in life are real based on facts. Everything else is an idea or an opinion derived, that has driven from a mindset, or a mindset from an individual, or a mindset of groups of people. I would really like to see your thoughts about this. And the question to start the interactive meeting is, if you could change anything. Imagine that you had all the power in the world, all the money in the world, all the courage in the world, the personality in the world, that you could change anything in your life. What would that be? And why haven't you changed it yet? That is the tricky thing. And what we could do in order to see yourself where you want to. And an argument on this would be by someone, why should I change? Why? If there is anyone who is ultimately happy with their lives, by all means, change nothing. But is it for real? That's the question. Now, the first session of the meeting ends here. Thank you for your attention. And let's go through questions. If we have, that is.
Wow. It was a
I warned you.
very impressive presentation. It was an excellent, one of our best that we've done all these years. We were stuck on the speaker all the time, and it was really, really amazing. There are some simple things that you can think, but you don't give the time to yourself to think about it.
And we have all the time in the world. If someone thinks that time is limited, oh, is it?
Yeah, and you just don't want to find time.
No, we can manage it. There are things that we don't pay attention.
Exactly.
There are a lot of things that waste our time. And at some point in our lives, we have to put priorities. Is this for my benefit, or is this going to lose my time? Is this going to develop me, or is this going to bring me back to where I don't want to be? Is this going to develop my situation, or is this going to bring me round and round in circles? At some point, we have to figure this out. And it's through the experiences of the past. We believe that we are sad. We believe that we are depressed. We believe that we are not able to. We believe that we are shy. We believe, but who says so? When was this first belief started to? And can I change it? Of course. Haven't you seen happy people? If they can do it, then it means that it is possible. And everything is possible. Until we die, because as long as we are alive, everything is possible. Until I drop dead, nothing will be.
We had some interesting comments from
Okay, yes, let's go through the comments. I wanted to explain this.
Do you want to unmute yourself and ask them personally?
It was a very good presentation.
Thank you.
She's wonderful, and she likes whatever she's doing.
I love.
I've got that signal, because the people, you get some signals from the people.
Yes.
Sometimes we feel negative things, but this is the first time that I have seen you, and it is from the mobile phone.
Oh. So scrolling sometimes does good things.
But I like the positive energy from you. What I'm thinking is that I like the Japanese society, because they are always saying that we are. They never say I am or the other things, because what I am feeling is that because we come to the world as babies, so each baby is innocent.
Yes.
And what I am thinking is that there is no bad people, bad human beings.
Yes, there is no.
They have, we have the life experiences, so sometimes we can change in the way that we don't want to be in that situation, in fact.
Yes.
But it's a kind of, I think it is related with the empathy, because I have tried to write that one. If we show empathy, it means that you try to understand the people.
Yes.
Because it is really important to understand, because you know, we are going to the schools, we have different families, we have different religion, cultures, history. And you know, whenever I am, for example, I am reading a history about, let's say, my society, my culture, the other culture can write different things, they can explain different things. So we don't know really what's happening and this kind of things. Because when I was going to the college, we had different histories, for example, for the different cultures and other things. So I was trying to understand what's really happening and what really we are believing, or they are trying us to make us believe, and this kind of things. And I'm really concentrating on the ancient manuscripts, for example, the Egyptians, Syrians, and other things. I think we can get a very detailed information, experiences, what they have followed and what they have done, what kind of mistakes we are doing. I'm not afraid of the death, for example, being death, because you know, I don't believe that we are dying. I am believing that we are changing the level. So because of that, I'm not concentrating on this kind of things.
You don't have to. It's not your issue to solve at the moment. What happens after death? It's not your issue.
Every day I am trying to make myself happy, but without making the others unhappy. So I'm not trying to touch the people. I mean, to make them feel in a sad way, because I am trying to show the empathy as much as I can.
Yes, but that's a tricky thing, huh?
It's not easy.
Not easy. It's not easy, because when you want to change, when you want to move on, when you want to do something on your end, inevitably some people will not like it. So inevitably we hurt one another. What is good is to accept the fact that a person wants to change, develop, and move on. This is immaturity or maturity in the way we see others. And empathy actually doesn't really mean stepping into the other person's shoes in order to make them happy or less unpleasant. It means that you accept them for who they are, you respect them, you don't do anything to hurt them, but this doesn't stop you from developing. Inevitably, when we grow, when we move on, when we develop, inevitably the past people who knew us, or friends or people, cannot grow in the same pace as us. Therefore, inevitably you will have people that you will make miserable. But it's their issue if they hang on to the bitterness of that and they don't embrace your change to movement. That is an immature way of thinking, and yours is a mature way of thinking. And this is a conflict between friendships, partnerships. We do not mature in the same pace together. And that is what I said. If we do not grow together, then we grow apart.
Yeah, thank you for, thank you for the time. I know that other people should have, they can, let's say, they can have questions and comments. I don't want to use more time. Thank you very much. It was good to know you.
It was good to discuss with you.
If
Thank
you.
you.
Anywhere, I don't know, because I know that the world is small.
Yes.
I wish you all the best from my side.
I thank you so much. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
George.
Questions? Dimitris? Jacqueline, Mitos, Christos, Avrula, Miss Harula. Anyone has any questions? Okay. I hope you're not shy. You can change that. So,
shall I explain the painting
Yes.
now that we have finished?
Yes, it was my next point.
Because you said something in the comments. We start as innocent. Yes, we do. We are innocent. We see the world through the eyes of peace and readiness to give and readiness to experience. And then we experience the world, and then we become a little bit suspicious because inevitably we get hurt along the way. And the experiences we have with people are painful. They're not all joyful. Everybody has disappointments in life. And then when we have disappointments and we are not yet mature to accept them as a lesson, and we see them with bitterness and pain and resentfulness, we become sneaky. You see the eyes here. Here are innocent eyes. But here they are sneaky eyes. I'm going to get you. I'm going to prove to you. I'm going to show you. Now, this attitude can work in the favor of successful people when they have been bullied in the past at schools. They become successful business people because they had that intention in their mind. I'm going to grow out of this and I'm going to show you. But that was a good intention, was a sneakiness as a plan in order for development for the future. There are some people who stay on the problem, who stay on the resentment, who stay on the bitterness of why people hurt them, and they are sneaky throughout their lives. And when we go towards maturity, we learn to evaluate. We learn to show what we want. We learn to tolerate what we should. And we learn to show to the world the real us. And the real us and the good version of us and the optimum, let's say, version of humanity is not to be always good. Is to know the boundaries. Is to know when we should say no and give up and go and change, and when to engage. So these three women you were asking are the three phases of life: the innocence, then the reality hits, and then maturity welcomes the tolerance and the intolerance. What I accept, what I don't accept, my boundaries and my giving. So I give unconditionally until I stop giving because someone exploits me. I know where I stand, and this is awareness. This is critical thinking. This is living a life fully aware on what is going on around me and what I want for myself, and always being a better version every single day than yesterday. And this is what this means. At least, I don't know the painter who painted it, but this is what gave to me, and that was the reason why I bought it. I would like to thank you, first of all, and I would like to wish to each and every one of us patience and clarity in everything we do. And I would like to ask you to do your own trial and error experiments in life. Pay attention to what you digest. Pay attention to what you eat. Pay attention to what you hear. Where is this source coming from? Is this for real? Is this good for me? Is this bad for me? Where is this belief coming from? If you question everything, you become it. You become at least a better version every single day of what you were yesterday, by awareness, by understanding, by accepting, by putting boundaries, by dealing, having the stamina to and the resilience to go towards another challenge, to perceive life as a process of maturity and as a process of development and as a process of change. And there is no change unless we detach from who we are, to see different things, to expose ourselves in different environments, to learn things it's a process and it's a learning curve if we want to. That is, not everyone wants to, and it's okay, and it should be fine and accepted.
Thank you very much, Emilia.
Thank you.
Very,
Thank
very
you.
proud of you.
I
Thanks.
think.
Everything
By the way,
was the honor.
the world is not as bad as we think.
Yes, of course. I saw in the chat that now Dimitri is going to quit his job tomorrow because he realized that you think, yes.
Optometrist, don't rush into things, make the plan, have the structured plan, see the goal there, make the right foundations for the change, and go for it.
And
Don't spend a lot of time on
your
plan.
plans for holidays.
Sorry?
And he has to include us in his plans for the holidays.
I wish you all the best to everyone. Everything is possible if you want to, and if you make the right foundations for the journey towards it. And towards it, you become it, and you become a much better version that you have ever thought and imagined to be, honestly. I am a living proof, by the way, so I know what I'm talking about. I've been there and I've done that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you for joining us. Thank you again, Emilia.
Thank you so much.
We are very
It's
proud
been a
of you.
pleasure.
Keep this, what you're doing, with the same passion. You are excellent.
Thank you.
Guys, our next Science Cafe in December will not be held on the last Tuesday of the month because most probably, as you know, it's going to be the New Year's Eve, and not on the 24th as well because it's going to be the Christmas Eve. So we're going to hold it on the 17th of December. So mark your calendars. Next Science Cafe on the 17th of December, same time, 8 o'clock Cyprus local time, or UT +2 for those who are watching us from abroad. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful evening.
You too.
Process all this that we had tonight from Emilia in your mind, and as my friend Hassan wrote in the chat, the pituitary gland can help a lot in achieving our targets. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening, guys.
Thank you. Bye.